Warrior Class Podcast, the one and only Warrior Class Podcast, not like the phone is. The Warrior Class Podcast, where we teach the homies. The Warrior Class Podcast won't leave you lonely. But then beat up everybody, and Ominiki is always taught if we clown. We clown on everybody.
Welcome to Warrior Class, where the teachers whoop ass, and you will too, if you pass. This is the Tree Remembers episode. Ominiki will be interviewing me about the book. So the Tree Remembers is the title of my latest book, which I feel may be my greatest book. She's going to be interviewing me in regards to that. But she had to change location. So she was in one place and they demanded that they demanded that she go to another place that she can shoot where she was at. So she's changing locations now. So that's what we're waiting for. And we got some people in here already, some people in the chat, some people lurking. We welcome you all. Come on in. And after the interview, you'll get an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. And if you have any questions for me now, you can ask those questions. You can ask some questions, not in regards to the book yet, but you can ask me, anything you want to ask. So this is my 54th year of training. In April 10th was my 54th year of training. So I've been doing this for a long time, or martial arts for a long time. The security aspect, executive protection and things of that nature, I've been doing since 89. So that's 47 years. No, is it 47 years? Yeah, 89, 99, 2009, 2019, 2029. No, 37 years. I've been doing that. I've been writing since I was like 8 years old. My first book was Discovering the Warrior Within. That was 2001 or 2, something like that. My first fiction book was in, I think, 2008, something like that. The Chronicles of Harriet Tubman. So I've been, at this writing thing for a while too. So the martial arts for 54 years, security for 37 years, writing for however many years. Since I was 8 years old, 58 now, so that's 50 years. And I'm talking about seriously writing. Prepping, I've been doing that for about 20, actually more than that. 30-some years too. Yeah, shit, 37 years, 35 years, something like that. And so this book is, and all my books have been an amalgam of my experience, but this one also my experience as a priest and a practitioner of Isese Ifa. Isese Ifa is traditional Ifa, the way it's been practiced for 10,000 years. Not an offshoot, not like so. You got Lukumi, Santeria, Condomble. Those are all offshoots. And you have in Haitian Vodou, you have the Òrìṣà in that. So you have different spirits, but one part of that is the Òrìṣà, like Ògún Fari, Ògún Badagry, Ṣàngó. Those are all offshoots of the original Ifa. I'm not speaking to their effectiveness. They may be just effective. I know Haitian Vodou is. But I do Isese Ifa, traditional Ifa. You know. So what comments do you have? Oh, and we want to welcome the new member we have, no dot thing, or nothing, I guess. That's a new member. So we welcome you. We hope you enjoy. Greetings, Yapo Yapa. It's good to see you as well. Greetings, Brittany. Hey. Come on in. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Come on in. And you know, this book was inspired by Jadarian. He said, why don't you do, and I had the idea, but he just confirmed the idea in my head. He said, why don't you do a book about the warrior aspects of the Òrìṣà? And so he gave me that spark to write the book. Also, welcome a computer channel settings. See, how do you keep your nervous system grounded in an intense situation? Preparation. Part of it is preparation. Yes. I think the other part is personality. So, and training. So, when I was a child, my father, what he would do, like it'd be a cute girl, and he would say, "You think that girl is pretty?" I said, "Yeah, she's real pretty." He said, "Come on." I go, "Oh boy." You take me over to the girl, and you say, "My son thinks you're pretty. You think he's handsome?" The girl would say, "Yeah, usually." And then he would say, "Okay, well, you all talk that out." And then he would walk away. I'm like, oh, my heart pumping Kool-Aid, right? He would leave me in situations like that. And so I would then talk to the girl. She would talk to me, I would get a number, call her later or whatever. And he did that to me shit, from the time I was probably 10 years old till I was 16, 17. And it was always put you on the spot, and you got to work on the spot under a high intense situation to be able to respond in any situation. So that was done. And then in class, and I do this too, you have to perform in front of everybody. So he teaches the technique, then you have to perform the technique in front of everybody, right? And you have to judge whether it's valid, whether it will work, whether you got the technique down, and that can cause nervousness too. It's a very intense situation, actually. And I do that to my students. And they have to perform it, even in front of other martial artists from other schools and things of that nature. We have to show and prove what we do as being effective self-defense. Okay. And so that gets you ready for anything. So that's how we get prepared for how we get our nervous system grounded in intense situations. Yapo said, I apologize. I had intended to finish reading How I Became an Assassin last week, but I got tied up with my own book and haven't read anything this week. I'm looking forward to getting back to it. All right, wow, great. And yes, Brittany, yeah, he would do that to me. And luckily, I wasn't too nervous around girls. I was so in elementary school, when a boy would talk too much to other boys, right, they would move you next to a girl, and that would usually, in those days, and that would usually shut the boy up. With me, they didn't know what to do because I was always talking. So they would move me next to a girl. I'm still talking. Just as much. And then through the training that my father did, sometimes I'd be talking more to the girls. So that was how it was. Let me see. I've never been nervous around guys unless I was attracted. Laughing out loud. Yeah, I would say the same thing. So around girls who I wasn't attracted to, which wasn't many, to be honest, I could easily talk around them. Around girls I was attracted to, well, I could easily talk around them after a while. But I get nervousness because you don't want to mess up what you're saying. You want to be on it. You want to be witty. You want to be quick with it. Luckily, I became that. But Baba, what is your view of our people going off with people who don't look like us? Going off with? You mean like in a relationship? Who don't look like us, then mysteriously don't come back. Oh, okay. Unless it's in a body bag. Just a question for your thoughts. So it's easy for me to say, be with who you look like, because I am with who I look like. Well, shit, she's much darker than me. And I've always been with darker women, except one time. She was still black though, but well, 2 times, but they were still black. So that's never been a worry for me. But if you're gonna go be with a person who doesn't look like you, or a person who looks like you, like the same sex, and you're gonna go off and be with them, you got to always keep your head on a swivel. And even shit, I was with a woman once who was a nurse, and we were sitting in her car, and I was drinking a soda, and from a 2-liter bottle, right? And she hit the bottom of the bottle, it cracked against my teeth. I'm like, yeah, what the world? And she was laughing, cracking up. And this is a nurse, you know. I said, why would you do that? I was offended. You know, she cracked my teeth like that. It could have broken my teeth. And she's like, oh, it's just funny. He. I said, okay, whatever. Then we were being intimate. This was weeks later. And I was laying down, and she started pulling the cover over my nose. Well, she did pull it over my nose, and then she held it tight. So acting like I was asleep, but I was really, you know, trying to get out of there. And she was cracking up, you know, laughing at you. And you know how you laugh, but you don't want to wake the other person up, so you just cracking up, like snickering. She was snickering and I was playing like I was asleep. So then she did it again. And I'm, you know, like that. And she was snickering. And then she did it again over my face. Like, because I put my hands down, you know, and the cover down. She pulled it over the cover, pulled the cover over my face. And then I was like, you know, jerking like I'm suffocating. And she was cracking up. And then I went limp. Then she shook my body. I was limp. She started getting up and getting dressed like she gonna leave me dead there. And then I sat up. I said, so you just gonna kill me, just leave, huh? And she was cracking up. And she said, no, I was just messing with you. I knew you were alive. That was the last time I was with her. That was the last time I was with her. There's a black woman. That was the last time I was with her. I said, damn. She tried to kill my ass. But the sign was there when she knocked the water bottle, the bottle of soda against my teeth. That was a sign, but I didn't know that was a sign. I was like, oh, she's being playful, I guess. It wasn't funny to me, but it's funny to her. So I guess she's just being playful. And really, honestly, I was looking at that behind in that chest, and that got me. I was thinking with my little head, not the big head. Smart move. That last time you were with her was so that the next time you were with her wouldn't be the last time you were with her. Right. Exactly. But I'm lucky when I sat up and I said, oh, so you're just going to leave me for dead, huh? I'm lucky she didn't just turn around and start knifing me or something, you know, which wouldn't have been easy for her because of my training. But shit, I was in bed, nude, So I'm in a precarious position. She had her clothes on at that point, you know, so she could have knifed me up or shot me. So I'm lucky she didn't do that. She's wanted to suffocate me, I guess. And I don't know why she didn't check my pulse. She's a nurse. She didn't check my pulse to see if I was still alive. She just did the do, got up, and was about to leave. So, which means also she's probably done that before, and so she's confident enough that she had killed me. So, Yapo, that's what, you know. Always keep your head on the swivel, no matter who you're with, until you build a trust. Like I don't have to watch my wife, my children. You know, I can go to sleep around them. It was funny though. I was asleep one time, and my children were you know, laying on me and laying by me, and we were watching a movie. Well, they were watching a movie about a glittery vampire. So you know what movie that was. I was just like, oh boy, this movie sucks. And I went to sleep. When I went to sleep, Kosi Pawokan, that's my second oldest. She was putting the cover on me. I was asleep on the couch. We had this giant couch. Well, this is like I'm on the same size couch now. This is a giant size couch with different components of it. I went to sleep, and so she was covering me up. And when she was covering me, I came at her throat, and luckily I opened my eyes and I saw who it was, and I stopped. And she's like, oh my God. And she just like collapsed against me. Like, oh, I was almost dead. I'm like, shh. I didn't know who that was. So I didn't know who it was. I knew it wasn't my wife's touch. So I knew it wasn't her. So I really forgot that you all were laying here with me watching the movie. I'm like, whew, boy, I'm glad that I opened my eyes. Because she would have got it. I was like, I stopped about an inch from her throat, if that much. I was, whew, boy. You know, so. If you're just talking, Baba, could you tell me about your writing process? Where you write, the best time, morning or evening? Do you work from a routine or by the seat of your pants? So, okay, greetings, Eugene. Before I had the stroke, my stroke, I had 7 strokes in 2012. Let me see. Yeah, 2012. It was August 29th, 2012. It was on the day that my granddaughter Tutu was born. Damn, wow. Tutu's going to be 15. Wow. No, 14. What was I telling you about me having a stroke? Oh, so before I had the strokes, I would write like every scene out in the book. I write the scenes out, so I have it mapped out, right? And that way I could keep up with all the twists and turns that I wrote in my book. I'm talking my fiction books. Okay. After the strokes, I could see the books in my head like a movie from different from different angles too. So I would see it shot from like straight on. I would see it shot from a wide shot. I see it shot over the shoulder, over the protagonist's shoulder. I see it shot over the villain's shoulder, or over the antagonist's shoulder. I would see it shot from a bird's eye view. See it shot from an ant's eye view. Look at me. And then I could write the book. Okay. Beautiful. So then I would write the book, and that's how I do now. So I really I'm a seat of the pantser, but I used to be a person that had to map out everything. Now with my nonfiction, I still map those out. Particularly if I gotta have pictures in the book. I gotta map out how the pictures are shot. And usually I'll map it out and then I go completely off the rails with something else. So that's usually how that works. You actually just answered my follow-up question. You see it. Yes, indeed. I see it.
Greetings, Baba.
Greetings.
Greetings, family. I apologize for being late. I was
I told him.
So late. I was so on time. I was late.
It was funny. She was on time, ahead of time, right? And then she got kicked out of the place she was at and had to go to her new location where she's at now.
Right. So I wanted to be on time for y'all today.
The book I'm presently working on, in addition to The Dragons of Harlem, is a history of Black people in cartoons and animation. I'm at almost 900 pages. Wow. Been working on this for 49 years. Damn. 49 years you've been working on a book? It's time to, finish that book.
Make it, break it up into 2 parts.
Right. Yeah, you need to do that too. Good to see you. The Dragons of Harlem. That's deep. Okay.
Sounds dope.
Yeah. The one Black people in cartoons and animation sounds dope too, but 900 pages, Yapo, you're going to have to break that down to 2 or 3 books.
Right. Yeah. But that's impressive.
Yes.
Lifetime work. I know that's right.
Right.
Good to see you too, Iapo. Good to see everyone. And Baba, thank you for vamping. I appreciate that. We can get started whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. Well, good afternoon again to everyone. Today we are discussing a book that asks us to rethink almost everything we've been told about African spirituality, leadership, and even what it means to be a warrior. Many people know the Òrìṣà through stories, songs, festivals, or popular culture. But the Tree Remembers argues that beneath those stories is an ancient philosophy of ethical power, responsibility, and protection. Our guest is author, 54-year African martial artist, 54-year African martial arts master, educator, host of Warrior Class with yours truly, and a 27-year student of Ifa, Balogun Ojetade. Baba Balogun, welcome.
Welcome.
So in part 1 of the interview.
And Lafia Blameless Ministries.
Beautiful. What is that?
He's
Blameless Ministries. I see. Lafia. My bad. I hadn't heard that name before. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to begin with the title. The Axe Forgets, the tree remembers. That's a powerful proverb. Why did you choose it as the title of this book?
Well, the title is actually just The Tree Remembers, right? And I was going to do The Axe Forgets, but the Tree Remembers. And then I said, well, that's too long for a title. So I just called it The Tree Remembers. But I named it that because the proverb, it captures the central theme of the book, all right, which is protection of the community through the actions of the Òrìṣà, which the Òrìṣà are forces of nature. Yeah. Okay. At forces of nature as they are represented in man.
Okay. Understood.
And I wanted to do that because the action. So what that means, the axe remembers, the axe forgets, what the tree remembers is a person who does you harm. Maybe it has multiple meanings, but one is the main one is a person who does you harm may forget, but the harmed person always remembers.
Absolutely.
And we as Black people have been harmed by the system, and by the colonizers, if you will. Well, not if you will, by the colonizers.
You're right. We could call them something else.
Yeah. And so we've been harmed by them. And we always remember. Even those who try to act like they forget,
right,
they still remember. Also, what that means at a spiritual level is, so the axe represents God. God in several African cultures is represented by an axe. And humanity, particularly the ancestors of humanity, are represented by a tree. So there are several stories about, a person climbing to heaven on a tree. That's talking about they getting to a higher level based on their relationship with the ancestors. So when we say the axe forgets, but the tree remembers, it's saying that the axe, the axe, ACTS, the acts against you, the actions against you, the Creator may forget those, but you ain't. Your ancestors aren't.
Right.
So
what you're saying is Jack and the Beanstalk, that's a spiritual story.
It has a spiritual, yes, it has a spiritual root. Now, well, so that comes from European culture. So
right.
I don't know
if they take from us and turn it into something else.
Right. So I believe they took that from us, and then they turned it into something else. But you can even see in Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack goes up and he's dealing with a giant, a god, really, and stealing gold from this god and stuff like that. And he runs down the tree and, blah, blah, blah. He goes up again. He takes some more stuff. And he goes up again, and the giant's wife catches him, and she is more, I guess, in tune with Jack and what he was doing. So she lets him get away. It's a lot of stuff to it, but
right, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just kidding about it.
but you know, that's true.
Yeah.
Forces of nature as represented in man. Yes.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely. All right. So many books about the Orisha focus on ritual, history, or mythology. You choose in this book to focus on warriors. Why is that?
Because they're in nearly every Orisha, there's a warrior aspect, but particularly for these 7 that I've dealt with, there's a warrior aspect to them. We have to understand that the Orisha, force of nature, and most of us understand this, that they're not just for peace. Fire can burn you, of course, but fire can also provide heat, right?
Yeah, bro.
Lightning, everything, water can save your life. We need water, but it can tear down your house.
Could drown you.
It can drown you, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So if it's not handled right, just like a warrior, it can take your life. But its main purpose is to save your life. You just know how to use it properly. You have to know how to use it properly. But yes.
And also, you write that this is not simply a religious book. What do you hope readers who know absolutely nothing about Ifa would discover from what you've written here?
Okay, well, the book is about principles. So you don't have to be an Ògún priest to understand the principles of protection, of loyalty. You just have to understand that principle is important, right? You don't have to understand Oshun, who is beauty and love, but you have to understand beauty and love, and that is important. Okay, so it's the principles that they represent that I felt was important.
Beautiful. We do have one question here from iManifesto. Just off the rip, how can the Orisha help one get more fulfillment in life?
Okay. Well, number one is recognizing that they represent forces of nature, and force of nature. I mean, like war is a force of nature. Beauty and love, like I said, are forces of nature, right? It's not just earth, wind, fire, and water. So understanding beauty and love, how that has more effect, and beauty and love. So Oshun also represents the revolutionary. Oshun and Eshu, well, and Oya, they represent revolutionary. But Oshun is the clear revolutionary. There's a story about Oshun where she was coming to Earth with the male Orisha. So it's 400 plus one Orisha, not 401, 400 plus one Orisha. And that plus one means it can always be more. More can be added. So she was coming to Earth. And with the Orumile, which are the primal forces, right? And when they came to Earth, the male forces didn't want to include Oshun in nothing. Because it was all male and then it was Oshun. They didn't want to include her in none of their meetings, none of their activities, nothing. Oshun went to them and, said, hey, I want to be part of this too. They said, nah, you're a woman. You can't be part of this. So Oshun then held back her Ashe, which is her power, right? And nothing began to go right for the men. Nothing. They couldn't get nothing off. So they went to the Creator and said, we can't get anything off. And the Creator said, well, did you include Oshun in your meetings and your activities? I said, no. Said, well, that's what you should do. You should go to Oshun, include her in your meetings, include her in your activities, include her. They went to Oshun, and that's what they did. They said, okay, we'll include you in these activities and everything, and we apologize for what, not for excluding you. And then Oshun allowed her Ashe to become part of what they were doing, and then they were successful. And that teaches you the first aspect of revolution. I mean, it was a revolutionary act. You're gonna mistreat me, right? You're gonna deny me being able to do these things. Well, then I will take away all the success that you could have. And that's why they began to treat her right. And then she allowed them to be successful. So that's one way, we can get fulfillment in life. We've got to understand the Òrìṣà. And so in the book, I put all the characteristics of the seven warrior Òrìṣà in the book, and what we should do as human beings to use those for our fulfillment. And war is a force of nature. Yes. That's why there will always be war. Always. There's no, like the Christians say, I want to study war no more. I want to study war no more. That's ridiculous. There will always be Ògún. No, Ògún is iron and war. There will always be war. War is not bad. And see that's what we've been made to think war is a bad thing. If I am doing something wrong that I want to stop, I need to go to war on that to end that. So that's a form of war too. I feel like I need some Oshun energy. We all do. We all need Oshun energy.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
And so, and water is the sweet water, that's Oshun. And water is also the salt water. That's Yemonja and Olokun.
Yeah, well. Was there a particular moment in your life that convinced you that this book needed to be written?
Well, there were several moments in my life. One, I had the idea for the book, like I said, many years ago. And I went to a priest, and I think I mentioned this before, and asked him to give me all of the Oduifa about Ògún, because I wanted to write a book. It was going to be just about Ògún and his warrior aspects. And then Jadarian Chimaranga, Jadarian said, why don't you do a book about the warrior aspects of the Òrìṣà? I said, oh, there it is. That's what I'm going to do. And in the book, I've got, different Odu that apply to the different Òrìṣà. But that was the catalyst for me writing this book. It was Jadarian, really.
And he made that comment fairly recently, right?
Shit, last week.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. So I had already penned. I already penned the stuff for Ògún. Then I had to do the 6 other Òrìṣà that I included in the book.
Is Jadarian here? Are you here, Jadarian?
I don't know if he's here or not.
He'll be here.
Let me see. Brittany said, we think war is bad because of the potential loss of life and the finality of death. Yes, but there's a potential loss of life from water too. There's a potential loss of life, from beauty and love too.
Yeah.
There's a potential loss of life from all the forces of nature.
Right.
And the finality of death,
Absolutely. So Baba, who did you imagine sitting across from you while you were writing? A practitioner of E5, a martial artist, maybe a young man, a community leader, or perhaps someone searching for purpose?
Who would I imagine sitting across from me?
And is that part of your process often? Imagining the audience.
That's always a part of my process.
Or the recipient, I should say.
Yes, it's always a part of my process, but I didn't imagine them sitting across from me as I wrote. Now, I imagined them reading the book after I wrote it. But sitting across from me was actually my daughter, Okikiola. was Kiki, who is 3 years old. So she sat across from me, and yes, you. So she was sitting across from me when I wrote the book.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Inspiration.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now in part 2, we're redefining the warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood has conditioned us to think that warriors are people who fight. Your definition is much broader. So could you share it with us? How do you define a warrior?
Yeah, so a warrior is one who protects. Now they have to be violent at times, but the main thing is protection of the community, of themselves, of their family. That's the main role of a warrior. Now, and protection doesn't always have to be violent.
Okay. Yeah, smart protection begins way before you have to get violent.
Right, exactly.
Or you may have to.
Right.
Can someone who never throws a punch then still be a warrior?
Yes, but they have to be willing to throw a punch. So I was asked a question years ago by Akin Bobala, who's a master instructor with me. He asked me, can anybody, how do you put it? Do you train other than warriors? Now, he asked me that about 15 years ago or more. I think it was more than 15 years ago, like 20 years ago. And I said, at that time, I said, hell yeah, they had to be a warrior, right? but I hadn't fully developed in my mind what a warrior is really. And then as time went on, I said, well, a person doesn't have to be a warrior, but they do. But a warrior does not have to throw a punch, no. But they have to be willing to. You have to be willing to be violent with your enemy.
It's fine, Mommy.
You don't have to be violent with your enemy, but you have to be willing to be violent with your enemy.
It makes sense. Is violence, so then would you say that violence is ever the defining characteristic of a warrior, or merely one tool among many?
One tool among many. So a warrior should be able to exact violence, and the best warriors can exact it well if they have to. But a warrior should also be intelligent. You don't have to be intelligent to exact violence, and even you don't have to be intelligent to exact it well. You just have to be violent. But they should have intelligence. I didn't say academic intelligence. I said intelligence, right? They should be courageous.
Okay.
And courage is bravery in spite of your fear. It doesn't mean fearless. It means courageous, right? That means bravery and boldness despite your fear. They should be that. They should be revolutionary, radical, like we spoke about the revolutionary. Well, when you weren't here, I spoke about revolutionary radicals. They should be revolutionary and radical. So different aspects of a warrior.
Okay. Also, one of my favorite themes in the book is that every warrior protects something.
Mm-hmm.
What should every warrior protect first?
Themselves first, then family, then community, then nation, or your city, then nation. So, but they should protect themselves first and then family.
Move outward from there.
Right.
What would you say is the difference between strength and power?
Okay. Strength, well, from a Yoruba aspect, strength is means the word for strength is alagbara, right? And that's physical strength, that's spiritual strength. I am a person that can resist or exact force on a thing or concept, right? That's strength. Power is now power by scientific standards is force times, was it force times mass squared or force equals mv squared, mass times velocity squared, or something like that, right? But force in Ifa terms. It's called Ashe. And Ashe is your life force. Ashe is what they use, like in the movie Star Wars, they call it the Force, right? It is you able to use your environment to affect reality. That's force. Within, so you always have a lakbara, strength inside of Ashe, but you don't always have Ashe in a lakbara. You don't. So a person can use strength and have no force in that, right? You have physical force, but you might not have any spiritual force in the strength that you're using. But when you use Ashe, it's always going to have some strength in it.
Yeah, bro. Another question from the audience, from Iapo. What shows a warrior who his enemy is? What of those who are talented at pretending friendship, but who are actually planning your downfall? How does a warrior train to recognize it more quickly?
Okay. One, a lot of times it's difficult to tell who your enemy is. Now, I mean, we all know that the colonizer, we use that term, is our enemy. Most of us know that. Some of us want to deny that, but
yeah, we should know.
Yes. But many enemies will come to you with a smile on their face. Many of the colonizers do, but on this show, most of us know that the colonizer is the enemy. But you may have an enemy right in your family, and you don't know it. Now, I have the advantage of divination. So divination will tell me who my enemies are. A lot of times you get divination, they'll just say, you have enemies. It doesn't tell you specifically, but I usually ask. And yeah, my wife just said your intuition is also. So yes, your intuition will tell you too. Now, can you train your intuition? Yes. You can train your intuition so you can more clearly see. But when even if I do that, I still have to. Well, I don't have to, but I will go and get divination to confirm what I know to be the truth. That's what I would do. But if you do not get divination, you don't want to get divination, you don't believe in it, or you
maybe don't know how to seek it out.
Right. You don't know how to seek it out. You really gotta go by your intuition. You don't have any type of confirming thing to let you know.
Yeah, bro. It's funny, Babu. I'll just interject. When I first read the question, I thought about motherhood, and I thought about how in nature, when the offspring of different animals are born, they find a way to teach them who their natural enemies are. That's just a natural part of the process, because if they don't know who their enemies are, if you got a squirrel running up on snakes trying to make friends, then that's not going to turn out good for them, you know? So in nature, the first teacher is the mother. And the mother is going to tell, you know, bring you to that information, whatever kind of way you communicate with them, to let you know who your enemy, your first enemy is, your natural enemy.
And human beings should do that too. So motherhood is a force of nature too. It's a force of nature that the Yoruba call Yemonja. That is the force of nature called motherhood. And that's clear that it's a force of nature because, like you said, in nature, everything, the first teacher is the mother. And that's in everything, every from lizards to snakes to human beings. The first teacher is the mother. The only thing is with human beings, a lot of times we're fooled by our enemies. So the mother can't clearly see who the enemy is, so she can't teach her children who the enemy is.
Yeah, or we want to be idealistic. We want to teach them who their enemy shouldn't be, who we wish their enemy wasn't, you know, instead of just being straight with them. And we are dealing with a lot of issues because of that. You know, our community is.
Right. Now, a computer channel settings asks, how do you seek divination to support? Through a Babalao or a Yanifa. So a Babalao is a male priest who divines, and a Yanifa is a female priest who divines. So you seek a Babalao or a Yanifa or both.
Or Òrìṣà.
Or the Òrìṣà, which are and so a Babalao or a Yanifa, those are priests of Ifa. And Òrìṣà is a priest of the Òrìṣà. So I'm an Òrìṣà of Bàtálá and a Babalao, priest of Ifa. My wife is a Òrìṣà of Bàtálá, Ọ̀ṣun, and Ifa. Who? Egbe. And Egbe. So yeah.
Beautiful. All right. And do you emphasize character over combat repeatedly? Why?
Because if you don't have character, you don't have anything really. So there's an Odu that talks about my children are not my own. It is character we're after. Good character. Okay. My house is not my own. It is character we're after. Good character. If you don't have good character, you really don't have anything. It can be easily taken from you. Right. So if a person wanted to engage in combat, if they don't have good character, it's easy to defeat them. My mother used to always say, you know, you can't be strong if you're wrong. Can't be strong if you're wrong. And that talks to character. For all of my skill, my martial skill, if I'm wrong, I can only be so strong in that. Now, you have some martial artists who got bad character, who can kill you. But you can kill them too.
Thank you.
So always remember that.
So you refer to it's a personal type of thing, because when we talk about major events that has happened with us Black people, then I mean we obviously not referring to character, because that was all bad character on the part of our enemies. Okay,
so my wife said, you know, in major events like it's always been like our enemies have had bad character towards us, and they've succeeded against us, right? I don't say they've succeeded against us.
Right.
They have for a moment in time beaten us. But I believe that one day we're going to stand up. But part of character is unification.
I was also going to say, like, also, is it part of character? Is because I feel like that part of the reason why a lot of things happen to us is because a lot of things that we have as Black people, we have businesses, we have different successes, we have different things. But one thing that we don't have a unit of warriors or a unit of people that's going to protect us. Whereas every other government, every other people, they have their unit for protection.
Yes, and that's one thing that I've talked about in that book. I've actually talked about that in another book called Ògún, that we have to have our own source of protection in our communities, in our community. Now that is what USPI, Urban Survival and Preparedness Institute, is supposed to be also. A protective group for our people.
Yeah, a lot of knowledge in USPA.
Yapo said, me and my wife were saying, who's talking? That's my wife talking.
He said she's right.
He said, who's talking? And they said she's right. Yeah, yes. So yeah, that's my wife talking.
Hey, Mama. All right.
Oh my goodness, Yapo had me thinking he was rich benefactor for a second. Oh, you mean when he posted the money up there? That was interesting.
That's okay. It's coming. The 5,000 just around the corner. Okay, so now in part 3, we're walking through the 7 Òrìṣà.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a journey through each of the 7 Òrìṣà. Ògún. Most people immediately think of iron and war, but you present Ògún as something much deeper. Who is Ògún to you?
So he is iron and war. He's also the surgeon. He's the artist, the dentist, like I said, the surgeon, the physician, anything that deals with metal tools.
So like an inventor?
Yes. Yeah. Because he's technology as well. So that's anything with tools, computer. That's Ògún.
And what's one lesson modern people have misunderstood about Ògún?
One, they want to relegate him to just being violent. Okay. There's a spirit of violence, and it's not Ògún. It's Koko. Koko is in the Yoruba cosmology. Koko is the spirit of violence. And most people don't want to deal with Koko, right? Ògún can be violent, but that's not his major characteristic. He's a warrior, not violent, dude. And everybody violent is not a warrior. I mean, shit. We know in some families, there's some violent people. They're not warriors. They're just violent, you know. And they're not balanced. They don't have any type of anything else but violence. We're not talking about them.
Ògún smells iron.
How can someone apply Ògún's discipline tomorrow morning, say before they even leave home?
Well, they can, before they leave home. So if you wanna eat your food with a fork, that's Ògún. That's metal, using metal, you know. But in the book, The Discipline of Ògún, you want to use protective discipline. You want to use just discipline, period. You want to, well, for my home, I should say, I want to protect my home. So I want to use the discipline of Ògún before I leave this house. I want to make sure everything is on point, protected, and I do before I leave, you know.
Would you say maybe before you left home, if you maybe avoided an unnecessary argument, could that be applying the discipline of Ògún? I was thinking about that from the aspect of character. How whenever we get the readings, it always tells us to avoid arguing because that can cause us bad character. So,
yeah. Well, I don't think of that because I don't really get into arguments with my wife like that.
Right. No, I didn't.
Or any of my children. You know, God damn it, so and so, and then walk out the house. I don't, you know. But there are people who do that.
Oh yeah.
And they have right no discipline of Ògún. So yes, Ògún uses usually quiet, watchful energy.
Yeah, well. Okay.
So lifting weights is Ògún. Yes, lifting weights is Ògún. Yes,
Absolutely. Touching iron.
right. You touch that iron, that's Ògún.
Yeah, well. All right. So now on to Oya.
Mm-hmm.
You describe Oya as revolutionary. That surprised me. Why revolutionary?
Because Oya is change. So usually quick change, but change, period. And anything that changes, so it's changing systems, it's changing belief systems sometimes. That's revolutionary. To make a change in your life, to make a change in the way things operate, that's revolution. That's all sure. I mean, Oya.
Okay. Transformation is exciting, but it can also be terrifying. How does Oya teach us to embrace change instead of fearing it?
So one of my names is Oyabode. You hear Oya in there, right? Oyabode. The Oya priest is here. She teaches to embrace change based on one, she is a protector of the ancestors, protector of the dead, right? She teaches that this thing has to die for this thing to live. Once you begin to accept that, accept that concept of Oya, you'll be more successful. If, like, when you came to me, you were shea butter. Okay. And shea butter means a person that is like a hippie, really. Woo! Yeah, exactly. Like, keep your force field back, right? A person that is spooky, a person, and in order to become the warrior that you have to be, you have to kill the shea butter.
Yeah, well,
the shea butter has to die. So
and it becomes
that is changeable, yeah. Huh?
I'm just interjecting. It becomes irritating sometimes to hear that mindset now from someone who, just an unrealistic view of protection.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So now Eshu. Perhaps no Òrìṣà has been more misunderstood than Eshu. How did that misunderstanding happen?
Okay, so when the colonizers first came to Yoruba land, they were frightened by Eshu because Eshu can either kill them or get with them based on how they're acting. Okay, Eshu, that's what Eshu does, and so they began to say Eshu is the devil. One, the Yoruba never had a concept of devil, so to say that is ridiculous, right? There was no concept of devil because there's no concept of hell or in heaven. It's the heavens, but there was never a concept of hell. So we didn't have a devil. That's number one. And they made some Yoruba priests, Catholic priests I'm talking about. And those priests began to teach that Eshu was the devil. And they did that in Islam too. They made some of them imams, and some of those imams began to believe, well, I mean, it's crazy. They began to teach that Eshu was a devil. And I believe that when they first did it, they didn't believe that themselves, but they believed in the tradition of Christianity or Islam, and so they were going to teach that because they were told to teach that.
Right.
But then over generation after generation after generation after generation, that became a belief. So in Yoruba land, you have traditionalists, yes, but you also have Muslims, you have Christians, and Muslims and Christians are more vocal than traditionalists. And so they will say, Eshu's the devil. Eshu is a general who is over. Well, number one, he's the messenger. So he translates human language into the language of nature. So he's in every divination and every ebal, which is sacrifice that we make. He is a general that is over the Ajagun, which are the warriors against man. So we're talking death, disease, loss, all the different things against man. He's the general over them, though. So we have to be smart in how we think. So he's a general. So if you give offerings and you make that general happy, he keeps those forces away from you. Keeps those forces away from you. So that is a force of nature itself, to keep things away from me that could be harmful. Went from shea butter to shield batter. Yes, exactly.
That's a bar I manifesto.
Right.
As the young folks say. But let's see here. You describe strategy and communication as weapons. Can words really be stronger than fists?
Yes. So we see that now. I mean, even with Trump, January 6th, what year was that? He said, he sent off a bunch of people to attack the White House with just words.
Congress.
Huh?
The Congress, right? The Senate.
No. He sent off a bunch of people to attack the White House. Remember that riot that took place?
Yeah, I thought they attacked Congress.
No, I think that was the White House. Yeah, and I think it was the White House, but I'm not sure. Whatever they attacked, yes, they he sent them off.
He used words. Absolutely.
Right, exactly.
That's the point.
And we do words, smaller level than that, but we use words to more, which usually are more powerful than a fist. Even when we talk to our children, and I wouldn't do this, but if I told Okikiola, sit down with your dumb ass, that's more powerful than a fist. That would be more damaging, and it would be longer lasting than a punch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I wouldn't do that, but some parents do that. Some parents have done that to you all.
Mm.
You dummy, you fool, and you're affected for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you spend the rest of I guess if you're lucky, you find a way to unwind it, but most people spend the rest of their lives trying to, get past that. And some people never do.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And another way strategy is more powerful than a fist is when we prepare. If we prepare ourselves for disaster, that's more powerful than if I got 20 firearms on my body and I'm waiting on the disaster. And in fact, that's ridiculous. Now, you should have firearms. You should have weapons. you should have tools. You should have different tools on your body, and I do. But if you got 50 pounds of weapons on your body and no strategy on how to use them, no strategy of how to survive other than with your guns will be taken or you'll be dead within a couple of days.
Yeah, that actually has come up a few times in this interview. Is you only really have the thing that you can protect.
All right.
Right. So now for Oshun. Some readers may wonder why diplomacy belongs in a warrior book. Why is compassion a warrior skill?
That should be your driving thing, compassion. So every time I go out the house, if I see someone needing help, I try to help. And that's physical help or whatever. I will try to help if my safety is not compromised. I don't just ride in the car and I'm just blindly not seeing nothing. I'm looking around. So if I see some things, I'll usually get involved. So that's where compassion comes into play. Now, diplomacy is in the same instance. So if I had to, and this has happened. Once I was driving with the family, right? And I see a woman. Well, I see a man. I thought beating up another man, beating up a woman, beating her down. I said, "Pull the car over, dear. Pull the car over." She pulled the car over. I jumped out the car. I ran over there. Diplomacy came after, but I said I grabbed the person that I thought was a man, and the hat came off, and it was a woman. I said, "Oh shit!" And then I excused myself and asked for forgiveness in that, and then I walked away. The beating commenced. My wife was like, "What happened?" I said, "That was a woman. That was a woman handling another woman, you know." So I couldn't get involved in that. Right. And no, I didn't save the woman who was getting beat down because I don't know the situation that led to that. That's diplomacy as well. Diplomacy isn't always stepping in the middle of something and breaking it up. It's knowing when to break up something and when not to.
That's a good lesson. To you, or in your mind, can kindness ever defeat evil, or is that like a shea butter type concept?
I don't think it's a shea butter concept. It can be, but you know, if you say, well, you know, kindness defeats everything. No, it does not. But you can be. What you should be is kind to your loved ones. You should be kind to. Well, you should be kind to everybody, right? until you can't no more, until you can't be kind. So I try to be kind to everybody that I encounter at first. Then when I can't be kind, I won't be. I won't be. In fact, well, so you're always kind to somebody. So if I became a nightmare on my enemies, I'm actually being kind to my friends. I'm being kind to my loved ones because I'm taking that enemy through something. Okay.
Would you say you're being kind to yourself as well, or
well, yes. So number one is kindness to yourself. That's always number one. Number one is yourself. Then you can move out to the external.
So now for Oshosi.
Mm-hmm.
Why does patience matter in combat?
Because you have to patiently take aim. You patiently take aim and then you strike. That's one way. So Oshosi is the archer, take aim. The sniper, take aim. Right? So he uses patience. But also the judge should use patience. So,
that's always the picture that we get of judges.
Yeah.
What about in leadership? Why is it important in leadership?
Because if not, you can make wrong moves. If I'm one of the leaders of Urban Survival Preparedness Institute. If, like when we had the pandemic, if I just moved off of emotion with everybody else, I'd be buying 50 rolls of tissue too. The first thing I did was I called all of y'all. Well, and sent texts out. Prepare yourselves like this. This is what you should be doing. This is what. So I sent that to you all so you all too would have patience, as opposed to just moving off of emotion. But I know people who moved off emotion. They bought 50 rolls of tissue. They bought a gun but couldn't get no ammo. So they just had a paperweight, really. So just stuff that I noticed that people were doing didn't make no sense. First of all, if you should have had a gun beforehand, before this pandemic. And you should have ordered or bought your ammo long before the pandemic. You should have had that already.
Okay. Makes sense. Also on the line of Oshosi, how does precision differ from perfection?
Okay. So I can be precise in everything I do, right? I can make sure I'm precise. I can't make sure I'm perfect. In fact, I don't know nobody who's perfect, really. But I know people who are precise at what they do. You know, I'm a precise shot with a firearm, pistol, rifle. I'm a precise shot, slingshot, shit, bow and arrow. I'm precise, but I'm not perfect. I can pretty much hit whatever I'm aiming at, but it could be a time where I absolutely miss. Absolutely miss. And that would shock me, but it can happen. And I recognize it can happen. So I'd be shocked, but I could recover quicker because I'm into precision, not perfection.
That can really, being so into perfection can really kind of take you off your game. It seems like from what you're saying.
Yes, I mean, shit. A surgeon, a heart surgeon. Heart surgeon can be precise. They can't be perfect. When I had the stents put in my arteries, at one point they had tore one of my arteries up, and I knew it. I was watching. So you're awake when you get stents. And I was watching the blood like puff out like clouds in my, and that had never happened. I had stents before. That had never happened. I said, "What is this?" And they said, "Oh, it's nothing. You're okay." And then they put me to sleep because I was asking too many questions. So they put me to sleep, and then they closed it some kind of way. Well, I don't know if they closed it because I had to go back the next day and get another stent. I think they were just, at that point, they were closing it.
Going back in and fixing it.
So they were precise, but they were not perfect.
Okay. According, as far as Ṣàngó goes, many people associate Ṣàngó with thunder and power. Yet your chapter focuses heavily on justice. Why?
Because Ṣàngó is the justice bringer. He's so that energy is a king energy, and king is male or female, by the way. But in Africa, there are no really in traditional Africa there were no queens. It was kings, including female kings. It was never a queen. Queen is European. It was never that. But and that's understanding what a king is, right? But one aspect of a king is he brings justice, not vengeance. He brings justice to the people, to his people. Okay. If somebody steals something from me, I want justice. I want them to, I don't want them to suffer. I want them to, one, give my stuff back, and then have a consequence for what they've done. That's justice. Okay. I believe anger and fury are different. Anger and fury are different.
What happens when leaders pursue, what happens when leaders pursue power without justice?
bad politics. So I remember Chairman Fred Hampton told a brother once, he said, if you do, if what kind of, he said, what kind of political education do you have? And the person, didn't have none. He said, well, you'll end up being the oppressor just like the oppressor. You got to have political education so you don't become the oppressor. That's the same thing. So if you have power but no justice, it's the same thing. It'll turn into vengeance.
That also made me think of when you're negotiating, like when nations negotiate, when they're trying to say make some kind of treaty or just negotiate for different things among each other. We see this quite often. The first thing that they do is they ask for their prisoners to be released, whatever political prisoners they might have be released. Mm-hmm. So justice is always the first thing that's addressed when they're having these different discussions and negotiations. They always address the political prisoners first, which is a great reason why we need to always know about and keep up with our political prisoners so that we can know, who to be asking to be released.
Exactly.
Let's see. Okay, as far as bàtálá goes, you conclude with self-mastery. Why in there?
Because all of the warrior aspects are important. But if you haven't mastered self, you're going to make some mistakes. You can master yourself before you master anything else. So in the martial arts, in the African martial arts now, in other martial arts, no, but in African martial arts, you shouldn't call yourself a master unless you have mastered or working on mastery, because master of yourself. And you know this, I wouldn't call myself just master, anything, master instructor I would use, because I had mastered that. But I would not call myself master, just master, until my father came to me in a dream and said to call myself master. Because and my students said, why don't you just call yourself master? I said, because I haven't mastered myself. But I guess I have now. Because my father said to me, call myself master in my dream. And I had divination done, and it confirmed that I should call myself master now, which is Oga. And that's how I began to call myself master. But at first I was master instructor. But self-mastery is important for you because, and that's what you always strive for. Self-mastery, mastery of the self. And you may not be able to master something else, but you can master yourself.
Yeah, bro.
But that takes work.
Absolutely, yes. Most definitely. Discipline, time, all of that. So is mastering ourselves actually harder than defeating an enemy?
Yes. So I could, right now in my life, I can easily defeat most enemies. Some enemies, but physically, spiritually, I can defeat most enemies. But mastering the self is a constant thing that I have to do. And to be honest, your children will test your mastery of yourself. So I have a 3-year-old, and you all know she always gets involved in the show and all that. Right? I have to. That's a test of my patience. That's a test of my fatherhood. All of that. And shoot, my wife is a test because one she's supposed to have her every Saturday. She hasn't, not, so they left. But also when she was sitting here and she was making commentary, I could have been like, "Hey, please be quiet because I'm dealing with this interview." I wasn't going to do that, and in fact, she had words of wisdom to share.
Absolutely.
I wanted her to share them.
And if you had done that, we wouldn't have gotten those words of wisdom.
Right. And I would have gotten something else. So
avoiding unnecessary arguments, Baba.
Right, exactly. And that's part of self-mastery too.
Yep. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yes. I actually, just as an aside, I had to exercise that earlier when I was having to leave the space. But anyway, thank you, Baba. Thank you for helping me. All right, so part 4 here is ancient wisdom for modern times. So throughout the book, you connect ancient teachings with today's world. What do the Òrìṣà teach us about raising children, which we kind of just touched on?
Yeah. One, you have to be patient. 2, you got to know when to be firm and when to be gentle. So in Ifa, there's a thing people talk about Iwapwele, and you probably heard of Iwapwele. Yeah. Iwapwele means good character. I believe in Iwa Rere more than Iwapwele. So just so you know, the history of the word Iwapwele, that came to us from a Caucasian gentleman who wrote a book called Iwapwele. And that means good character. Well, a Caucasian benefits from us having good character. Gentle character, where he put in it means gentle character. With gentle character, I don't have with anybody except my family. And by family I mean my students, and that's family too. But I have Iwa Rere, which is balanced character. Iwa Rere, balanced character means I know when to show my teeth and when not to. That includes with my children. Okay. I know when to show my teeth and when not to. And that is what we should do with our children. We should always know when we should be show show your teeth or not.
Right. All right. Another thing we touched on is teaching who the enemy is.
Yes. you should always teach yourself first who your enemy is, and then
that part,
and then teach your children.
Right. What do the Òrìṣà teach us about community leadership?
Well, one thing I've learned is there's very little community leadership right now. But we can have it. And like I said, leadership is a spiral, really. It starts from the center of, in this community leadership, it starts with the self first, and then it moves out to the family, your immediate family, and then out to your extended family, and then out to the community, and then out to the neighborhood, the nation, the city, and then nation, and then the country, right? So there's not a unified, I didn't say uniform, I said unified. There's not a unified connective tissue within this country, within this nation, within this city, within the community, really. But we can get to community unity. We can get to that if we are consistent. It won't be uniform, but it can be unified. So the way we do things may not look like the way they do things, but we can be unified and come together and get things done. And that's how we need to get things done. Someone said you should never apologize for scolding children. Do you think this is true?
Like apologize to the child? Is that what you mean? Manifest?
Now, I will say I do it, and I do it when I don't even have to. So, Kikyo is big on this. She's 3. She's big on, like I'll say, sit down. You're so and so, right? And she'll say, it's not good to be mean to me. You've been harsh. You've been harsh. And she said, apologize. And I'll be like, I ain't apologizing. I don't want to apologize to this girl, but I'll do it because she asked me to apologize. And I say, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She said, and then she'll say, it's okay. It's okay. And then we go about the rest of our day, Right. Now, and I say I'll do that because I'll apologize to somebody. If somebody comes in here, well, not in here, but out on the street, and they say, you like my tie? And the tie is bright yellow with red and green polka dots and look terrible. But they say, you like my tie? And they wrap the shotgun. And at first, and they got the shotgun on the side, and I didn't see the shotgun at first. And I'll look and I say, no, that tie is terrible, man. They say, what? I say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn. That tie is nice. Boy, that tie is nice. I will give, because that's a strategy too.
Right.
So I use it with Okikiola as a strategy too. I don't want to crying no more about this. I don't want to upset about it. She's made a statement that, you know, she feels that I was wrong and
Unnecessarily hard.
Right. So let me go ahead and apologize. And then as soon as I apologize, she said, "Oh, it's okay." And then she right back to being her normal self, you know. So now if I say, I'm not apologizing for shit, I'm not apologizing for a goddamn thing, that will set her off to crying, and I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that.
Right.
Hell, adults, you know, there are times when your spouse has said things or your loved one has said things that you have not agreed with, men and women.
Right.
And you go along with what they're saying. Because I don't want to hear the if I disagree, I don't want to hear the arguments we're gonna have for my disagreement. And that's real. Now, if, and I said, you know, let's go along with showing your teeth. If I have to stand on something, if I say, I don't want to go to this event because I don't want to be around a certain type of people. And my wife's like, oh man, come on. We're going to be around the people anyway. I would stand on that. Like, no, I said, I'm not going. She knows well enough, and that don't happen now, but it's happened before, you know, in our younger ages. But she knows now not to argue with me if I stand on something like that. I'm not going. I'm not doing this. I'm not, and I know she the same way. If she stand on something strong, she can stand on something strong. And I always say like this: would you rather have a strong, principled woman or man, or a weak one who just go along with everything you say? Now in life, I mean, it's easy because I know her, she knows me. I know where I'm going with what I'm saying, and she knows that, and she knows where she's going, what she's saying, right? But early on in the relationship, which we've been together 27 years, but early on in the relationship, it was, you know, we're getting to know each other. So we were bumping heads a lot. Okay. I apologize to anyone when I find out I'm in the wrong. Yeah. And that definitely. If I find out I'm in the wrong, I apologize. And really apologize now. So don't do the, and this is when you're younger too. And young, I mean young in your relationship with whoever you are with whether it's a child, adult, whatever, boss, or you say, yeah, I'm sorry for so and so, but you did so and so. That's not a real apology. You apologize for this, but they did this. That's not an apology. You just wanted to get to saying, but what they did right. To you. And that's not a real apology.
A way to restate your position.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so what do the Òrìṣà have to teach us about handling conflict online? That's a good one.
Online?
Yes.
Well, it depends on which Òrìṣà, but the way I handle conflict now, and those in warrior class know. So online originally when we first started this 5 years ago, people would challenge me and challenge us online, and I would go off. I would check them. Now that's I checked them in a very Ògún-like way.
That's a great way of describing what you used to do.
Now I try to handle things in a shoe-like way or a bàtálá-like way. So we can handle them. Now, I some of you all, I deal with you all in a Oshun-like way, beauty and love, right? But most of the time, I try to deal with people in a Obatala-like way. Now, conflict, I never deal with that with like Oshun. I never deal with that with beauty and love. If we're having conflict. Now, diplomacy, I have used, and that's Oshun as well. So I have used that. But really, I'll be honest, rarely do I use diplomacy. Normally I use a shoe-like tactics, or I use a bàtálá mastery of the situation.
Okay. What about with politics? What did the Òrìṣà have to teach us about that?
Okay, well, like I assume definitely with diplomacy, with her revolutionary acumen, or Yah with her revolutionary acumen. Those are things that, so changing, making the change in things, or using diplomacy, those things are important. Okay. And excuse me for just a moment. Yes. No. All right. Adabo. Love you. All right. And I didn't realize it was past 3 o'clock. Wow.
Let's see. Are you pressed for time, Baba? Did you want to finish the interview next week, or you want to go ahead?
I'm not. I don't want to finish it next week. I'm not pressed for time, but
Okay. Okay. What did the Òrìṣà have to teach us about policing?
Policing?
Yes.
Well, Ṣàngó teaches us about justice, right? Oya teaches diplomacy. Eshu teaches tactics. All of those are key to policing. Now with the police, mainly Ṣàngó with justice. we should seek justice against the police.
Okay.
Now, police should bring justice, but they rarely do. They really do anything with the Òrìṣà, except for Koko violence, and Koko not on this. So, but that's mainly what they deal with: violence and death. Death is Ajagun, warrior against man. They usually deal with that.
All right, and lastly, for the Òrìṣà, what do they have to teach us about about preparedness and also about self-defense or self-protection?
Okay, with preparedness, they do teach us about being prepared. That's the discipline. That's dealing with Ògún. They teach us diplomacy even, but they will bring in justice. They teach quick change, like Oya. You got to be prepared for any type of change. So that is with preparedness. With self-defense, Ògún deals with the striking, right? Kicks, headbutts, elbows, knees, the striking. Oya deals with the throws. Well, no, Oya deals with takedowns. So the difference between a takedown and a throw is a throw is off of my power. A takedown is off of your power. So if I wrist lock you, you're really throwing yourself from the pain to escape the pain. That is Oya. And Oya takes the breath too. So Oya deals with the breath. So chokes, things of that nature. That's Oya. Oshosi, that's dealing with tools. So tools from like the stick, pocket stick, the arrow, sling, the pistol, rifle. That's Oshosi. Eshu deals with the ground techniques. And Ṣàngó deals with throws.
Okay. So the metal tools, would that fall under Ògún as well and Oshosi?
Well, yes. So the metal tools, like the sword, the machete, the mace, that is Ògún.
But not the pistol?
Well, yes. So it's funny. There's a name. So Elebuibon. Elebuibon means the owner of the gun or the small owner of the gun, something like that. Well, that's an Ògún family name. The Araba, which is the priest of Oshogbo, Nigeria, is Baba Elebuibon, Yemi Elebuibon, right? He has a son, Fadapo Elebuibon, that's a friend of my family, right? So Elebuibon is a very well-respected family in Oshogbo, Nigeria. That's an Ògún name, and that's dealing with the gun, right? So yes, so the gun, and there are statues of Ògún with a rifle in one hand and a machete in the other. So yes, the firearm is dealing with Ògún, but the method of using the firearm is Oshossi. So I can just fire a rifle with Ògún energy, but if I take aim with that rifle and hit you with precision, that's Oshossi.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification.
Mm-hmm.
When writing the book and researching the book, what would you say surprised you the most?
Surprised me the most. One, the length of the book. So I went in thinking I was going to do the book in like 125 pages or something like that. It turned out to be more than double, almost triple that. That was the most surprising thing, that I gathered so much information from the Odu and all that on the different Òrìṣà, that I which I didn't think I would get that much information.
Did writing this book change you on a personal level at all?
It made me, well, this book and the USPI manual, self-defense manual, those two books let me know that I can write nonfiction at length, because most of my nonfiction books are in the 120, 150 page range, something like that. But those two books let me know I can go 300, 400 pages, 500 pages. So.
Okay. So now this is our fifth and final part, which deals with legacy. If and when someone finishes this book, what do you hope changes about that person?
How they deal with life. I hope that how they look at self-defense as more than just physical self-defense. I hope that changes. I hope that with people that study Ifa, I hope that they begin to look at, well, not people that study Ifa, people who know about it, they look at a shoe differently. All the Òrìṣà differently, but specifically a shoe. Yeah.
If the Òrìṣà, what misconception about African spirituality would you most like to erase?
That it's voodoo. Now, number one, voodoo is a tradition from New Orleans. Okay. But people, I don't mess with that voodoo stuff. Mm-hmm. So they speak about our tradition like it's something hellish. Right? They speak about our tradition like it's evil. And these are black folks. Black people who this tradition is part of your ancestry, but they want to deny that and just talk about Jesus, just talk about Muhammad and Allah. Well, we had a song called Give Me That Old Time Religion, right? Mm-hmm. It's good enough for me. It was good for my grandmother. It's good enough for me. It was good for my grandfather. It's good enough for me. You think they were talking about Christianity in that song? You think they were talking about Islam in that song? Talking about something older. Give me that old time religion. Now, in Islam, we don't look down on no religion. Okay? What you do is what you do. We ask that you do the same. Even atheism. Now, atheism is a religion, by the way. You say, what? Atheism is a religion. Atheism believes in science. Science is the god of atheism. Any ism is a belief system, right? So atheism is a belief system, whether they want to accept that or not. So we ask that if you don't accept our religion, at least respect it. This book, though, is not just about religion. It's for African traditionalists. It is. It's for martial artists. It is. It's for self-defense specialists. It is. It's for executive protection specialists. It is. Okay. It's for African historians. It is. It's for different people, right? And most Black people who are atheists, they're atheists because they're disappointed in Christianity. I had a brother tell me years ago, he said, he would always ask me these questions. He was like, where does the dead go? When the rapist die and when the saint dies, where do they go? I said, in the ground. I said, see, you're used to talking to Christians, and Christians will say, well, the rapist go to hell and the Christian goes to heaven. I'm neither of those. I'm neither a Christian or Muslim. I'm an African traditionalist. And so I believe that they will go to the same place in the ground, becoming maggot food. Now, where your spirit goes is to the same place. When we talk about the world, we talk about the seen world, which we live in, and the unseen world, which we feel, like the wind. You don't see the wind, but you can see its activity. You can see it on the trees. You can feel it. It's real, but we can't see it. But we can see his activity. We can feel his activity. Well, the same with your ancestors. Yeah. Somebody says, that makes sense, Baba. I never thought about it, but in the time that song was written and sung, the religion was new to them, right? So why would they call it old time religion? Right.
Absolutely. Great comment, Iyapo. Baba, if the Òrìṣà could speak directly to modern society today, what do you think they would say?
Up, you mighty nation, you can accomplish what you will. Just like Marcus Garvey said.
That's beautiful. And in the book, you write that the ancestors remembered the Òrìṣà still teach. How do we become better listeners?
One, by just listening. Calm ourselves and listen. You know, you can listen to nature all the time. You can look at, listen, feel nature all the time. You just got to center yourself. Just do it. And experiment with that. So go outside first and feel the wind. Feel the wind. Listen to it. Okay. Then come inside and or if you got water, like, you know, we got water behind our house, right? Listen to it. Feel it. Or go in the bathroom and feel the water. Listen to it. Okay. Fire. Don't feel it, but listen to it. Listen to it.
I mean, you can feel the warmth. That's feeling.
And you can feel the warmth, right? You can feel the warmth, but don't feel the actual fire, or you're going to get burned.
I like the song. That's just a song.
And you can, when there's lightning outside or thunder, pay attention to it. Listen to it. Pay attention. Look at it. Okay. How does it make you feel? A lot of times, lightning and thunder, it can frighten you. Well, so can Ṣàngó. And that is Ṣàngó. So, you
Absolutely.
know, so feel that.
Okay. 100 years from now, what do you hope readers will still be saying about The Tree Remembers?
Damn, that dude wrote a good book. Damn, I learned a lot from that book. Damn, if he was still alive, I would hope he would do part 2. Because 100 years, I'm going to be gone. But
you could write part 2 before them, but I understand what you mean.
Right. Or one of my children be gone 100 years too, but one of my grandchildren, great grandchildren, you know, they could do a part 2. You know.
Oh, that's great to think of. Baba, what questions do you wish interviewers would ask, but almost never do?
Which they would ask, but never do, or almost never do.
What do you like to share?
My history, but I mean, my history would be too long to share now, but my history as a teacher, as an author, those things.
Yeah. All right. Well, Baba, thank you not only for writing The Tree Remembers, but for reminding us that true warriors are not measured by the battles they win, but by the people they protect, the character they cultivate, and the communities they strengthen. Remember the words that close the book. The ancestors remembered, the Òrìṣà still teach. The answer is, the question is, will you answer the call?
That's it.
And thank you for answering so many questions from the audience throughout. They know we love them. So I hope they feel it. We try to include whoever wants to be included. So thank you, Baba. Thank you for writing the book. I really look forward to getting all the way into it, and also reading it along with my son. I think any kind of information, because of how because Ifa is not the spiritual system that you see when you walk out the door. It's not the thing that's emphasized throughout our lives. They're not days on the calendar that are, we don't have any holidays that are based on the belief that anyone has in Ifa. It's difficult sometimes to incorporate stories and information into everyday life, or at least it has been for me at times. But we have read some things, but I'm really looking forward to going over this book with my son and talking with him about it and sending him to you with questions.
Cool.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. And
All right.
I will get your copy of the book, Bilay's copy of the book, Amosun's copy of the book. Now, just so you know, they all are models in the book with the photos.
That's a kind word to use. That's strategic.
Right. So I will get them their copies of the book, and I hope you get your copies of the book as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Baba. Love y'all.
You love y'all. Peace. Be safe out there. Be safe in your homes. Stay black, whatever it is that you may be. Peace.
Peace. Peace, Baba. See you soon.
Peace. All right.